I'm launching the live.
Okay.
Yes, I think we are live everywhere. Yes, here on the webinar platform and also on our YouTube channel. So hello everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Olena Gryniuk. I'm the CEE Director at the SME Banking Club, and I will host today's webinar. And today we decided to speak about the artificial intelligence and actually how exactly artificial intelligence and machine learning can help in the proactive measurement and prediction of risks in the receivable finance industry and how to use predictive analytics in the decision-making process. And my guest today is Federico Borgmeyer, Chief Partner Officer and member of the Management Board at efcom, a company that is a provider of factoring software for more than 20 years already. Welcome, Federico, and I'm very glad to have you again.
Thank you, Olena. Olena, can you see me? Can people
Yes,
see me?
I see. We can see you and we see the presentation, so everything works
Okay.
well. And let me just probably mention before we go to the presentation that we plan to have this webinar for 30 minutes. We are recording it and we will share the video right after we finish. And also, you are very welcome to type your questions in the chat. So we start from the presentation, but please type your questions at once when you have them. And in the second part of the webinar, we will have a Q&A session and we'll be ready to answer your questions. So let's start. And Federico, I'm passing the word to you right now.
Thank you, Olena, and welcome everyone from wherever you're joining us. My name is Federico Borgmeyer. I'm Chief Partner Officer of efcom in Frankfurt, Germany. The subject that we're going to talk today about is called artificial intelligence and machine learning for predictive analysis in a factoring ecosystem. So it's a long title, but it's also an important topic that's been around our minds for quite some time. When I mean quite some time, I mean years. And getting this subject put into practice has not been easy. Because of course, for what we try to do here is not less than a little bit of a game changer in our industry. Because as the word is saying already, predictive analysis means we want to predict something that has not yet happened, that may happen. And as you all know, in our industry, in the factoring ecosystem, it would be nice if we knew a few things ahead, but we don't know them, of course, because they have not yet happened. But if they're very likely to happen, it's good if we knew them. Okay, to make a long story shorter, we have 30 minutes. As Olena mentioned, I would like to bring you or onboard you on our thoughts and, of course, on how far we have taken these thoughts or our vision so far. Let me see if this works. In September this year, to be precise, on 28th of September, we had our annual symposium at efcom, and we asked this question: if you had a wish to become true, wouldn't it be nice if, of course, in the factoring environment? And what we saw is that our vision that we had in the past in predicting possible changes in your customer behavior leading to a particular event was one of them. And so we asked about to the audience, and we had about 60 people from our customer base present. Olena, you were there as well. And we asked the question, wouldn't it be nice if, and wouldn't it be nice if we knew what our ecosystem was doing out there? And this is just an example, as we see it now in this slide, about the ecosystem. So on our ecosystem, we have clients, we have debtors, we have them from different industries. Like in here, we have them in the area of transportation. We have them in pharmaceuticals, in automotive. We have them in different areas. We have them in different geographies, and some of them behaving in what we consider perhaps in a way that we would like them to behave. So paying on time, working with clients and debtors that are, as we call them, compliant in our own portfolio. And then perhaps we see others that are not so fulfilling those criteria. So the greens were the ones that we consider, yes, they're fulfilling the criteria. We don't have to worry about them. The yellows, perhaps not so much, and the red ones in here to have an eye on it. So the idea here was, wouldn't it be nice if we knew in advance if something in our portfolio, and this is a very small snapshot on what a portfolio of a particular financial institution could be, because at least from our customer base, we know that they have in a neighborhood of, let's say, 500 clients plus, and if you have at least the same amount of debtors behind, which is a small number, then we're talking about large numbers of organizations, institutions, companies dealing between each other. And this is a snapshot. This is a picture that we're seeing here. But a picture is always only the situation at the given moment. And that may be good, or that may be bad. It's the same as with us as human beings. There are days that we feel good, and there are days that we don't feel good. But it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to worry necessarily if we're not feeling good on a particular day. The trends most likely are the more important parameters in something like this. So if something is green all the time, like with our vital systems, then we don't have to worry. But what happens if the system or the ecosystem that we're looking at here is changing in a trend that may become worrisome? And this is the important part that we said, if we knew that in a dynamic way, in the sense of identifying that there are changes happening in a particular client, in particular debtors, in particular industries, in particular regions, geographies, jurisdictions, etc., then we could at least not only anticipate something, but also mitigate possible risk that may happen as events later on. So wouldn't it be nice if we could predict in some way or another what is going to happen in our ecosystem and take the actual actions that are necessary for that? So this is the vision, and between vision and reality, obviously something has to happen before getting there. So the question here was, what shall we be looking at? Because there are many parameters that you can look at, and these were the answers actually from our symposium. So what is worrying you, or what would be nice if you could know about it? Okay, if late payment was going to happen, if there is a disruption having data security, competition, privacy, environmental changes, etc. So a bunch of these let's say worries happening out there. We looked at which are the ones that we could most likely give an answer if we use artificial intelligence and machine learning using the predictive analytics that we want to do. So at least we can give answers to late payment. We can give answers to fraud and no payments. We can give answers in risk management and credit risk. We may not be able to give answers on regulatory changes through our application, which is something that the regulator is doing. We may not be giving answers to competition. we may not be giving answers to data securities, but on those that we see here circled in red, we can give answers. We try as technologists to use the technology that's out there, that's available to us, and then give answers and as much as we can. And so we have a team dedicated to this, and this team is working on what we call the supervised learning methodology, which is when you do classification and regression of particular data in order to do fraud detection or image classification, the subject of customer retention, forecasting, and predictions. So that would be supervised learning. Then you have reinforced learning, where you can take real-time decisions. You have learning tasks and some sort of robot navigation, as we call it. And then at some point in time, you move into from unsupervised learning to supervised learning to reinforcement. So, and this is the machine learning approach that you have to do. When it comes to differentiating between conventional risk management and risk management with machine learning, we see that in conventional, and we all know that from the past, but also from the way we work today, is that we rely on financial statements. Let's say, so you have data from your customers and or from your debtors. You know how they're performing according to past statements. So those financial statements are history. You get credit agency scores as well. So you rely on third parties that give you credit agency scores, but they are again also based on history. Then you have a certain payment behavior that you detect. That's also history, most likely with a large delay, depending on the systems that you're using in order to detect payment behavior from particular stakeholders. And then you have industry analysis. So, and these are also based on history. So this is the conventional risk management that we use today in 99.9% of the organizations, and where we want to market trends, that we use today. What we want to move on is into something that gives us perhaps more advanced means to understanding what the risk could be in our portfolio to manage it. And by that we use, in this case, machine learning, because today, as compared to in previous times, we can process big data. Machine learning only works if we can process big data. No big data available, no machine learning. And the same happens with artificial intelligence. So you need to rely on large amount of data. If you don't have that, the systems won't work. But nowadays we have, and you have, if you're a financial organization, a lot of data that you have in your systems. So what we said is that our systems, from efcom in this case, our clients process annually more than 200 billion euro in transaction volume, and there are over 100 million of invoices that are being transacted per year. So that is big data. We're talking hundreds of millions of invoices. We're talking billions of volume behind that. So processing that big data, the meaning of that data that's resident in the system, allows us today to process it. During the symposium at efcom here in Frankfurt, we gave an overview that this means, what does it mean? I mean, 70 years ago, when we started with artificial intelligence, we basically started with zero data in digital or in electronic format. Now we're talking about 800 zettabytes of data available in the market, let's say, in the world. So we are today creators of a lot of data. So processing big data is important. So what happens if we have that big data? That big data allows us to detect complex patterns. With machine learning and the tools available in machine learning, you can detect that. Something that we probably can't do as humans when we see all that mix of data, and we need to understand what the correlations are within between all those data available. So detecting complex patterns. Then adopt to market changes, because sometimes we don't see them happening. We may feel them. We may think that there's something happening, but we don't really know where it's happening. And this is something that we can also do with machine learning. And then, of course, automating tasks and reduce the bias. Reducing bias is important because we all know that we have our gut feel. Gut feel meaning it's something that we feel. We feel something is changing. We feel something is not right. We feel something. But how much about that is reality, and how much of that is perception? Instead of relying on perception and gut feel, we want to have a clear picture, straight answers. And using machine learning allows us to reduce the bias, to reduce the gut feel, which is good to have as a human being. But in order to take serious decisions, it's better to rely on clear data and reduce the bias. So we want to move away from the conventional risk management into risk management using machine learning. This is our goal with this particular approach. Now you will ask yourself, what is this all predictive analysis process all about? So we have a circle in here because it's a process, right?
If I can interrupt here for a second, if you can return to the previous slide, we had here one question from Yaroslav. What does it mean, the industry analysis in the conventional risk management approach from the previous slide? Just to answer it once and then go further. Thank you.
In industry analysis is if you move into, if you're dealing with clients, let's say in the pharmaceutical industry, you want to know what the pharmaceutical industry is all about. If you move into the banking, or if you move in automotive, if you move into another industry, so these are different industries, you may find different patterns, right? And that's why it's important to have industry analysis in the conventional system, because you may have, if you are an expert in, or you have always dealt with, let's say, pharmaceutical companies, and you're now dealing with clients in the automotive industry, they tick completely different. And it would be good if you knew what the differences of the two are. And that's why industry analyses are good. I hope that answers the question. So this is the conventional one. In the machine learning world, though, that doesn't really matter. It matters, of course, that you understand them, but the machine learning systems will tell you right away. So you don't have to read the industry analyses. What's the difference between working in a pharmaceutical industry versus an automotive one? But the machine learning will tell you. It will tell you what the differences are by giving you the KPIs. And then you will have your own conclusion. So you don't need to read any reports about what's happening in the automotive versus the pharmaceutical industry. I hope that answers the question. Yeah, so that was meant by industry analysis. Coming back to the predictive analysis process, the idea here is when we use the word predictive analytics, what we want to know is what might happen next. So anticipate basically future trends and behavior based on past historical data. So we still rely on past historical data, obviously, because that gives us an idea on if something changes, if that is good or bad. So assume you were doing business with some some organization, company or industry that's always having a relationship with a risky country or a risky company. You have analyzed that risky company, risky country for your client or on your client, and you have taken the decision to move on, asking perhaps for premium prices, and you start working with them, and nothing changes. So you're working with an organization that's actually working in a possible risky environment, but you have taken action to correct that with higher premiums. Then you have another client that's working in an environment, in a geography, or in an industry that's completely stable, and also the client is very stable. Now your machine is working over time, and now you see a change in your client that's in a non-risk environment, in where everything is fine and always behaving good, but you see a trend moving in the wrong direction. So in here, what we're saying is predictive analytics will look at, in some instances, it's only one parameter, on relative changes. So it could mean that you're always doing business with someone that's always performing very well, and now it's performing suddenly not well anymore. Is that a one-timer? Is it a two-timer? Or is it a trend that perhaps you should have a look at? Let's take the Lehman case as the most brutal one. Lehman Brothers was a AAA organization until the day it went default. So nothing was showing that this organization was going default until it went default, and it collapsed almost the world banking system. So this is what we mean by that. So it could be someone that it's always good, always doing well, and suddenly it's dead. How can that happen? And the indicators were probably not being looked at, and this is what we are trying to do, looking at those perhaps not very much seen, or nobody wants to see elements or criteria or indicators, but that very well give you an insight that something is not going okay. So anticipating future trends and behavior based on past historical data. So instead of wondering what happened, we're providing what might happen next. It's all about being one step ahead by learning from what's already happened. So if everything was fine in the past, that doesn't mean it has to be in the future as well. So looking at those perhaps negligent changes, but negligent changes today, tomorrow, and the day after increasing, may become signals that we have to take into account. So this about what is predictive analysis process, and of course how do we go about it? First of all, of course, you have to defining a project or a problem. That means that you have to identify risk and classify it based on the credit worthiness of debtors, clients, and receivables. So this is one first part. Then, of course, data collection, this is a tricky one, as we all know, because data is very important, that you have the right data, and data can be structured, unstructured. You can have it in a batch, you can have it in real time. It can be internal data, external data. So when we talk about this with the clients, what they tell us, Federico, are you using only our data, or are you also using external ones, like the risk assessors that we have out there, credit risk evaluators, and we can do both. Of course, you can take information or data from external, but also from internal. The most reliable ones are the ones that you have, because those are the ones that are happening in your own ecosystem. And the external data is in this case supporting data. Big data, we talked about the zettabytes happening out there, and this is exponential. if you go back from the 1940s when Alan Turing started with artificial intelligence at the end of World War II, we basically had zero data in electronic or digital format. And now we're moving into zettabytes and beyond. So the thing here is to export, transform, load data into the data warehouse. Cloud is also helping, of course, because it allows you to get more data and process also later the data. So security of data, scalability, accessibility, reliability of all that data, that is key. Then next, we have the data analysis, and actually here on the right hand side you see that little brush. So data cleaning is an important thing. We have that all the time when we do migration of data from other systems, legacy systems, into our EFX system, for instance. Then we have to do a lot of data cleaning as well. So that's something that we do before we start with the analysis. Handle missing data through imputation or removal, standardize or normalize numerical features. Encode perhaps category variables and appropriately, and address any data or transformations that are needed in the data analysis. And then when it comes to the data analysis itself, well, this becomes statistical, right? Using weighted average and descriptive statistics, correlation analysis, you probably know already, in regression analysis, hypothesis testing. I have a list here that's much longer. Time series analysis, cluster analysis. If you had done Monte Carlo simulation in the past, then that is also part of it. So all that is part of the data analysis and the statistics that we do before we go into the modeling. And so all these 1.1 through 1.4 defined project, data collection, data analysis, statistics is the work that you have to do before you go into the modeling of the data. In principle, what you've got is you have three different common techniques to perform that predictive analysis. You have regression, decision forest, and neural networks. Let me see at the time. Basically, we're running out of time, so I'm going to press a little bit of the accelerator modeling, and then after you basically go on deployment. So so you have to go through all of these phases to go on the predictive analysis processes. Now I will want to show you something before we end. There we go. And I hope this works because I want to show you something on a different page. This is a model that we have here in Tableau. And basically what we have here is the first picture that you saw before. So in the oil and gas industry, we say, okay, everything is fine in here. If you want to look at another one that's maybe not doing so well because you're seeing, this is in a yellow stage, then you want to see who is involved with this this particular staffing industry in the state of Saxony. So we go into the industry, but also into the region. Then you can see the clients and the debtors over here, the ones that are performing better and the ones that are not doing so well, like this debtor number 67 or this number 64, to look at. And the system will tell you when to become active in assessing if you have to do further due diligence, or if you go into this particular one, pharmaceutical, and you see that there are a bunch of debtors that are having trouble right now. some with bigger volumes, some with smaller volumes. So you may want to have a detailed look at it. And so this would be basically in a version 1.0 where you have a system embedded in one system. But if I ask myself, Federico, wouldn't it be nice if, what I say is, wouldn't it be nice if we can have that installed in one particular client of ours that uses our systems? But what would happen? Wouldn't it be nice if it was installed on all of them, on all 51 clients in 15 geographies, to have a much bigger and larger view on what's going on an ecosystem, not only in one factor, but in many factors, and all of them being able to learn from each other. Right. This from my side, Olena, I think I stretched a little bit the half an hour, but I hope it has been useful for all of you to give you an insight. Of course, this is not taking you to give you answers on everything. We have been working on this for 2 years now. The beta system is right now underway, and by next year we shall see a live system like that already. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Federico. And yes, we do have questions, and because your presentations was really interesting and fresh, I would say. So first of all, the next question from Yaroslav: what are you doing manually and what is automated?
What is manual and what is automated? In our system, the one that we're building right now, in principle, everything should be automated. The system should be using the data that you're producing, where of course making it based on our own EFX system. So our factoring solutions create a lot of data. So we use that data, and that data is being, let's say, inputted into the machine learning and giving those answers. So it is a system that you will have as a dashboard, of course, but on the other hand, also giving you clear indicators where to look at. It doesn't mean that particularly there are, let's say, areas of only risk, also areas of opportunities, because some particular clusters may be improving, and you may want to focus on those. So, but the answer is it's all going to be digital and automated.
Yeah. But then when you were comparing this machine learning risk management with the usage of the machine learning tools and the conventional one, so then you should start first, right? Then to let the data be collected, and then you can use the machine learning, right? So you cannot start from the scratch without
exactly. So if that was the intent of the question, the first thing, of course, is to have the system set up in a way, like every system needs to be set up first, how to cleanse the data. That's why we're working on our own systems, and try to use one or two, perhaps three clients of ours to serve as examples in how we can automate as much as possible. Our systems are already very automated, and I mean, this particular one should be completely automated. But yeah, we would probably have to go through one or two or three, one at least, two or three perhaps, examples or data samples, because they're all different, before we get to be in a position to say, okay, now after doing it for two or three and the system is working fine for all of them, have it implemented on all 51 and the ones that would like to use it later on.
Okay. And we have actually a question from Olivia. Do you have examples of factors using such an approach already?
No, not yet.
The market.
not yet. This is, I mean, I worked many years in payment systems, transaction system for credit card organizations and stuff, and they have all our data. I mean, we all have a credit card in some way or another, and they know exactly what you do, what we do, what I do. But do they really do that? It was already 30 years ago when we talked with credit card organizations in doing that, and I don't think that they are even there yet, and they have even larger amounts of data than our particular industry. So the answer is no, not that I know. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, but
there's
probably.
no one going around the world and talking about it like I do.
All right, and actually, this is because I hear like questions and fears here from the factors in the region, and actually, one of them, I mean, of course, risk management is a crucial one, and risk of fraud in digital factoring, especially, is one of the main questions arising, and actually, this tool that you presented could be an answer to that.
You see,
Minimize.
we are working in an environment, we're in Europe, and in Europe we have mature organizations. We've been working in our space for decades, so we have plenty of experience and data collected, if you like. Not all of it in digital format, but that doesn't matter. So we have a long history of information about our ecosystems. Now, if we went to regions like Africa, where we're now entering as well, Africa is starting to enter the supply chain finance and receivable finance space from zero, and they tell you, oh, that's all nice what you guys tell us from Europe, but we don't have the credit scoring of all these companies. We have no idea, with whom are we going to deal. So they may be doing business with a few number of companies. So, and what we're trying to say is, don't worry, you can start from scratch. We bring basically the machine learned already into your region, and we may have to pay a few dollars, a few euros, a few whatsoever currency, CEFAs in Africa as a learning lesson, but the systems learn very fast, and they will start detecting anomalies in the system with the long history that we bring already with us, programmed in the system. So that means that the AI and ML embedded already in our markets is placed in that market. That market doesn't have a lot of data, but the data will come in. In the system, the algorithms will already be existent. So that means that Africa will have a much better start that we had, because they don't have to go through 50 years of mistakes, as Peter Mulroy says, and or efcom 25 years of mistakes. No, they will start from all the mistakes that we have already committed. They're already been basically in algorithms programmed to be used right from the start. So this is a big advantage.
And question from Alexander, that I have started learning machine learning in Python, and I'm working in risk management currently. Also have a background in statistics and econometrics. My question is, have the AI and machine learning models become so reliable that you can eliminate our human being?
Not yet. But hey, if you're working this space, maybe you want to join our team. So this to Alexander. Because we're looking for people to come to our team. No, but not yet, Alexander. I think there is still time to go. But I tell you the experience that we have with another product that we have launched already over a decade ago in artificial intelligence for matching payments and invoices. Let's say a more primitive kind of approach than this one presented here today. But hey, after 10 years, over 10 years of having this product deployed in the market with clients in HSBC is using it, just as an example. BBVA is using it, a big Spanish bank. It's being used in South America. So everywhere where there's a load of big amount of invoices coming in and payments that have to be matched, artificial intelligence algorithmic that we use in here to make the matching has improved the productivity from 30 to 50% up to 95%. So it is very stable and very reliable right now. Will we get somewhere close to that in the future with AI and machine learning in what we're doing with predictive analysis? Absolutely, absolutely, yes.
Mm-hmm. And this reminded me also one of the questions that I hear from the region, from the factors that are thinking and haven't implemented the digital factoring yet. The risk, so that's their fear is that the risk in the digital factoring is higher, or different risks are higher than in a standard manual procedure, let's say. What is your opinion on that, Federico?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing it, perhaps it's a little bit of what we're experiencing in the news as well, right, Olena, with
Yeah.
fake news and stuff. So what's true, what's not true, what's correct, what's not correct. I guess this is the challenge that we will have in AI and ML as well. Using AI and ML to detect the real from the non-real, the good from the bad, the trustworthy to the non-trustworthy. So beat that using the same technology. But it's a challenge. We're opening new doors. There is no way of going back, let's say. It's only a way of how to learn more about it, doing it better, be always a step ahead, of course. But we can't go back anymore. I mean, nobody's going to work with handheld computers and trying to do statistical data anymore. Nobody does that anymore. I mean, I did that in school, and I'm not seeing myself doing that again. So we're using the tech that we have today, and NML is giving us a big step forward.
Yeah, right. And the last question to close today's session from Mihai. Hello, can machine learning read handwritten invoices? Well, we are moving to the era of digital ones.
That's a nice question. We do OCR, but OCR, of course, is not handwritten that much. Perhaps, I don't know. I've not tested ChatGPT in this space, but we're already embedded OCR reading technology, and that's super reliable. We have out of our 51 clients, we have 10 using that technology to read invoices that are sent in PDF, and that works super nicely. Millions of invoices are being read like that in our systems right now. Handwritten invoices, I don't know where we will see those, in which markets.
I mean, within several years, all at least the European Union countries will be mandatory to issue digital invoices. So this is not only the invoice in PDF, but this is actually the digital invoice with the data of the invoice will be structured in a certain way. So I think the handwritten should not be the case, at least here in Europe.
It's not in our scope. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Federico, for your great presentation and giving us, a sign for the future how to fight risks here in digital factoring. Thank you very much, our attendees, for being very active.
And don't miss coming to Krakow in a few weeks, because
and the next time we are discussing digital factoring topic is our CEE SME Banking Conference, taking place November 29 and November 30 in Krakow. So please come to Krakow and join us. If you cannot come physically, you can also join online, remotely, and participate on the conference website. So thank you very much. Right after we finish, we will send you this video of this webinar, and the link for registration to the conference. We'll be glad to have you and discuss further. Thank you very much, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you, Olena. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.